introduction. Ross is one of our senior robotics members, and he's come back to continue furthering this prototype robotic arm that he will explain.
Just give me a second to. All right, yeah, so I'm Ross. I'm one of the senior ambassadors, and the reason I'm here today is because last Friday I didn't get a chance to present this, so I'm doing it today with the junior ambassadors. What my project is, basically I wanted to come up with a different way of interfacing with robots, specifically this robotic arm right here. And what I made was a wooden rig that directly mirrors the arm over there. In each joint, there's a potentiometer, which is a device that measures electrical resistance values. And those values correspond to positions. So say it's at 300 degrees, then that would correspond to a certain value, and then so on and so forth. So those values are sent over to this arm wirelessly. As you can see, there's no wire connecting any of this circuitry to that arm right there. This wire is just connected to the computer to use as a power source. So I'm going to demonstrate for you. The wireless communication is, just so you know, is using serial data. All of those values are mapped to specific positions that are usable by the servos. And because the arm is usually facing upward, but I've inverted it so that it can mirror properly. And since it's inverted, you have to map each of those positions to values that correspond to or translate properly to those servos. So as you can see, I can turn it on the base servo. It's a little bit jerky right now. I think that's mostly just because kind of have to wake up. But I can turn it like this. And as you can see, all of these movements correspond to movements on the arm, so it's directly mirrored. I can grab one of these, pull it off, put it down. So it's sticky. These servos are really powerful, so these white balls will kind of get crunched in between them. But as you can see, it's fairly easy to sort of grasp them. It's a little bit harder to actually let go of them though. The wireless communication that's going on has a really far range. Depending on which model of wireless modules you have, it can go up to, the wireless communication can take place over several miles and through walls. Kind of stuck on that wire. I'm just going to leave it. So over here, these both of these sort of devices are using separate Arduino boards. That's how they're programmed. So you need entirely separate programs for each one. Over here is the input, obviously, and then over there is the output. So there are two different sort of brains for each device. So a lot of the issues that I had were sort of visualizing how to go about mapping values to the servos, because one, it's inverted, so then I have to sort of change my thinking around because you know, if you have to sort of flip things over in your head, flip over the sort of coordinates, that's what I sort of drew out, coordinate system, and then that's how I sort of mapped it. And I also have to map it in tenths of degrees, because if I mapped it in just degrees, then it would be really, really tricky. It wouldn't have as high of a resolution. Another thing that made the process really difficult is because potentiometers have, most of them have 270 degrees of rotation. So at each joint, you can only turn it within a range of 270 degrees. So that's from here all the way because if they can't communicate, then obviously there's no way that that's going to be able to use any data. And then fourth thing was that when I first tested it, the arm was getting all sorts of crazy data from this rig, and I had no idea what was wrong. It turned out that I just had to increase the delay because the module receiving data can only hold 64 bytes of serial data. So then this was transferring way too fast and it was overflowing. So I just increased the delay and it worked pretty well. So my idea for how this corresponds to real life is that it can be used for manufacturers. So say they had a really big machine that they would usually use a remote control for, or use joysticks. Instead of using joysticks, you could use this rig and it would have much more natural movement. Because all I have to do is sort of put my hands in here and it will move wherever you want. It has 6 degrees of rotation, here, base, shoulder, elbow, wrist. The wrist rotates, but as you can see, there's no servo on that arm that has that feature. But when I scale that arm up, I'll add a servo that has a rotating wrist. And you can also, this would be useful because you can operate large machinery from a safe distance, and you can also be a lot more efficient with it rather than using